Welcome back to the Unshakable Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Wood Massicotte, and today I have the pleasure to have a beautiful guest here, Dr. Simone, Naturopathic Doctor. She's many things: Reiki Master, quantum healing, hypnotherapist, practitioner, founder of Bright Moon Wellness Clinic here in Ottawa, and mother, wife, everything. This woman is everything. And
I
I'm
try.
excited. Yes, I'm excited to have you here. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to, have a chat with you today and sort of share my knowledge and a little bit more about me and get some good topics today.
Yeah. Yeah, the overall thematic really for this conversation is stemming around, something that we're seeing a lot and hearing a lot of is women's health. More and
Mhm.
more women's health and healing for women particularly, and what does that actually mean? And also I want to add in this kind of redefining what is health and what does it look like and feel like and mean to be healthy. So
Mhm.
these are kind of like umbrella topics that we can dive into, and I'm gonna be so excited to hear about your perspective and your experience.
Yes.
And going right into it right now, I love when I have guests, I get to hear your story.
Okay.
So whatever feels you want to share with our audience of what called you on this path,
Mhm.
what brought you to where you're at right now with the person that you are and what you've created right now.
For sure. Okay, well, the first thing that comes to mind is my father and my relationship with my father. So I went to U of T for phys ed, which is now known as kinesiology, and it was all about health and wellness and exercise as the cure for everything, and nutrition and all the foundational habits for health. And then I also did some research in health psychology. So I really liked, the whole mind body connection and how stress affects us. And then my father, who was a courier at the time, delivered something in North York to the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. And he came home with their brochure and he was like, Ellen, you should do this. And I was like, oh, no, no, like, I'm not going to listen to you because, like father-daughter relationship. So it sat on my desk for a while. And then I looked at it and I read all about it. And I was like, oh, this is the solution. Because I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, should I be a medical doctor? Should I be a nurse? Should I be, a teacher? I always loved teaching. I used to coach skating. And swimming, and I thought I did want to be a teacher sort of when I grew up. So being a naturopathic doctor combines sort of all of that together. We're always looking at all the foundational factors for health that lead to long-term health, because a lot of the diseases today, heart disease, obesity, cancer, there are a lot of lifestyle related factors that are preventable and changeable. But then I really like the mental health part. I didn't want to just focus on your physical body and help your physical body feel better. Because I really do believe there's a deeper emotional component to things, or with homeopathy and Chinese medicine and Reiki and the quantum healing hypnosis technique, you can really get deeper into the subconscious. And really, what we sort of learned in naturopathic school is by the time something comes out physically, it was probably underlying of an emotional imbalance or an energy or like a relationship frequency that was there for a while. And now your body's finally expressing it, trying to get you to do something about it.
Yeah.
So circling, I guess one more thing back to my father is, um, I feel so I have this story I call my avocado aha moment. So when I was at CCNM, the naturopathic school, I had IBS-like symptoms. So I was like, oh, we're gonna go for all you can eat sushi. I love it. I'm craving avocados and I'm craving guacamole. But I would eat a little bit and have these extreme reactions. Like I'd be on the toilet, I'd be puking, I'd have like stomach pain. And then my friend was like, yeah, well, if your body's communicating with you, what's it communicating, Ellen? And so I was like, oh, my body is reflecting my relationship with my father. So the whole thing for me was like, oh, okay, it's not just what I'm eating and like, all the physical functional stuff. It was, I'm craving his like approval, his love, his attention, things that he was not able to give me. Yet I strive so hard, to be a straight A student and be
Yeah.
successful and do all these things. But he didn't have the capacity to give me those like words of approval. And I was giving all my power away. So it was like I was craving all of this stuff from my relationship with my father, yet I'd interact with him, for like 5 minutes over the phone and be like, oh my God, I can't handle it. Can't handle his energy. Like it would leave me frustrated. I'd be angry. I'd be itchy. Like I had eczema. And then I was like, oh, it's all deeper. So for through my own personal experience with, IBS symptoms and eczema, I got to experiment through all the naturopathic options. So, what are my food intolerances? What herbs should I take? Acupuncture. So, all of these different diets that I tried. So, I've been sort of through it as a patient, but really for me, the deeper healing was my relationship with my father. Like, once all of that shifted, then I didn't have the physical symptoms anymore. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me, about my father, my naturopathic journey.
So beautiful. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing that because I feel many people, when we share stories, we start
Mhm.
kind of relating. It builds that kind of like rapport in a sense with the listeners and with everybody, realizing,
Mhm.
you know, we're all sharing similar wounds and we're
Yeah.
navigating them either consciously or unconsciously. So thank you for raising that because maybe for somebody that's raised their consciousness and allowed them to maybe shift their perspective in some way on
Mhm.
a particular dis-ease that they may be feeling
Yeah, it
in
was
their
definitely
body.
like a big shift in perspective from like, kind of like, oh, the powerless, like, oh, I'm like the powerless daughter, like I'm trying to get attention or figure out who I am as a person. And then your solar plexus basically regulates all of your gut and it's your personal power and like your confidence center. So I had to like reclaim my own sense of like identity and my voice and figure out who I am versus like who my father wants me to be. And so the whole perspective like shifted throughout my life. And then I started to view it as like, okay, like what is this relationship teaching me? Like he's sort of my biggest teacher. So
Yes.
everything that happens, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? Or how am I supposed to respond differently? And actually, so I'm probably talking about him a lot because he passed away a couple years ago, and the last 3 years were quite difficult. But at the very close to the end, I had a shamanic session, so where they lead you on a shamanic, like a journey or a visualization. And she was like, okay, where are you? I was like, I see myself in a classroom and my dad's the teacher and I'm done. I was like, peace out. I'm graduating. Like, I don't need this anymore. I've learned all my lessons. I feel like I can finally like unravel or like cut the cord from this relationship and like stand on my own. And then the shamanic practitioner was like, well, what's going to happen then? And I was like, my dad's either going to die because we're the biggest relationship with each other, like in this lifetime, or he'll keep living and teach all the other people in the classroom. And then literally like 6 weeks away was when he passed away. So I was like, okay. And then that's what I used in the eulogy, just this whole shift of perspective because he was a great man, but a difficult man with a lot of people, or an eccentric personality. So I tried to flip it to be like, what did we all learn from our experiences with him? Yeah, so it's definitely, he shaped a lot of my naturopathic practice and my journey and just how I approach health as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, we tend to have a parental figure that's our greatest trigger and greatest teacher, if
Yes.
not both. But usually there's one that's dominant, and that's really, if we allow it to be, the source of deep healing. Again,
hmm
if we allow ourselves, and it sounds as though you allowed yourself to go to that place of wounding, perhaps of not feeling good enough for your dad, wanting his approval, and
hmm
coming to this space where, yeah, you've created a beautiful um, clinic, but I want to say another word because it's not only a
Mhm.
clinic, modality, let's
A
say, that
practice.
encompasses so much. And to me, it has this holistic lens that offers people this approach to healing that is complete, right?
Yeah,
That is
I
not
feel
surface level. So talk to that. Like,
sure, yes.
where does this bright moon wellness, where does it come from?
For sure. So I guess so I've been in practice for 16 years and my practice has obviously evolved through all my clients and all the things they've taught me and all those experiences. But what I found I really loved is when people come in and they are stuck in their like their beliefs or like, okay, like I have no hope or I don't know where to go next. I have these symptoms that are bothering me. And they believe it's purely physical. So it's like, what do I eat? What supplement do I take? What testing do I need? So as a naturopath, that's really great. We can help you navigate the healthcare system and work on the functioning of your physical health. But really what I loved is helping people realize it's actually deeper. So there is an emotion associated with it, or an energy. And so I feel like what we're creating at Bright Moon Wellness is a space where all the practitioners operate on that level. So, like, yes, we're primary care, or we do our due diligence to make sure everything, like, is taken care of, we're not missing any red flag symptoms. But we also allow the space to like speak in that deeper language or like that spiritual language or the energy. Because a lot of people come in with like this inner knowing, like it's something deeper, or this all started since my divorce, or this all started since my mother was sick, or my conflict with this. Or yeah, my husband died and I've been, now I've developed lung issues. So in Chinese medicine, the lung organ is related to grief and sadness. So you've been experiencing grief and sadness, and this is the physical expression of it. So I feel like more people understand this, but they're looking for practitioners and like a space where they can talk on this level, if that makes sense, or to sort of integrate it all together. Hmm.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And I want to weave in and have the listeners hear where the bright moon wellness came from,
Yes, for
what it
sure.
represents to you, that kind of tapping into maybe the moon phases and
Mhm.
feminine wisdom. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So, I guess when I first started practice, I was an independent contractor in two other big clinics. So I experienced, okay, how does this clinic work? How does this clinic work? What do I like or I don't like? But I always knew I wanted to create my own space. So I did some learning, and then when I was ready, I went out on my own. And then once I felt confident practicing on my own, I thought, okay, I want to create something bigger. And I was trying to figure out like, what do I call the clinic, right? Everyone says, how am I going to do my branding? What am I going to call it? And then I remember my father was like, it should have your name, like Ellen Simone, Naturopathic Center for Excellence in Health, or whatever. He had something super formal. So I chose Bright Moon because Ellen means bright one or light. So it's like my name is in it, but it's not my name, right? It more represents like the light, and our tagline is bring light into your being. And so I feel like that is our role is like we want to, people are in their darkness or their shadow self. How can we bring some more light or open up a door or a window so they can shift their perspective out of where they feel stuck? So it has my name in it, but in a subtle way. And then I chose the moon because, yes, it's associated with women's health, women's cycles. And really, one of the key things I feel in life is there's always change, right? Like, have you heard change is constant, or the
Hmm.
only law of the universe, like that's, constant is that change will happen or something. So we always support your stress response and your adrenal glands and how they're adapting to changes in your life. And I feel like that's a big missing piece in treatment and care is how is your body responding to a change? So it doesn't know, are you getting married or are you getting divorced? Your body has no idea. It just knows I need to pump out cortisol and deal with this issue to get through it and hopefully not get burnt out by this experience. And so the whole shifting, constant shifting of the moon cycle, I felt encompassed that supporting you through times of change. And as you know, like women's lives change frequently. So we get our periods, we get pregnant, we have babies, there's the whole postpartum period. Then we transition through perimenopause and menopause. So there's always changes, and every month there's changes, right? Every day things are shifting. So we really wanted to have in our name something that sort of exemplifies that of like women's health and like the changes. But we also treat men. So just anyone going through a change. Mhm.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a woman in any stage of her life to reconnect with the moon and realize how much she's affected by her and how
Mhm.
much actually goes on within a woman, and that your sensitivity is actually your strength if you learn to wield it
Mhm.
and honor it. This is huge from my own experience and what I've seen. And
Mhm.
I'd love to hear from your lengthy experience of 16 years practice. What would you say are the most common patterns you're noticing in women today? But also, if there's a trend that you're seeing, or yeah, a pattern that you've seen, or something shift.
Mhm. Mm, okay, I feel like the example that comes to mind is your period every month. So I feel like most women just assume, oh, I have to have cramps and I have to be moody and I have to have migraines and it has to be like the most horrible week of my month ever, and I'll just take Tylenol to deal with it and get through.
Hmm.
But I think what most women realize is like there's so many things that we can do to support your hormone balance to minimize those symptoms. Like you don't have to experience severe PMS every month, and you don't have to go on birth control to override your cycle. So definitely birth control is a great option if you want the birth control effects, or if you need something just to totally suppress your cycle, give you some space so you can deal with all the other aspects of your life and eliminate this whole hormonal shifting. It definitely has a time and a place. But a lot of women feel like that's the only option or medication. But really, a lot of things that influence hormones are like your digestion and your liver function. Like, how are you metabolizing your estrogen? Is your stress response or your adrenal system working well? So, are you actually producing and making enough progesterone and estrogen and testosterone? Your diet is very important too. So there's lots of, chemicals in our food or chemicals in the environment that are known as xenoestrogens. So they bind to our estrogen receptors and they create a very strong estrogenic response. So there's all these things in our lifestyle right now that increase our estrogen levels and lead to estrogen dominant symptoms, which are all the cramping, mood symptoms, headaches, breast tenderness, heavy flow, irregular flow. So often, what women need is just to know that there are other options available. And I feel more women are looking for that too, something that works with their hormonal system versus something just to like turn it off temporarily.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll weave in the archetypal lens to it
Sure,
when
yes.
we look at, yeah, the PMS stage and also the postmenopausal stage or menopausal stage as
Hmm.
the wild woman phase. The
Hmm.
integration phase of the moon after it's reached its zenith, it's going back down to new moon. This is generally where women get off their bonkers
Hmm.
if they weren't able to fully express themselves or feel as though they can be authentically themselves. If they
Hmm.
haven't been seen or felt seen and heard, which is the case for a lot of women,
Yeah.
they get into this, yes, PMS state of mind and of being where she becomes like, oh, too much. And then the woman believes she's too much. And then we go back to the cycle of repression, which
Hmm.
breeds into an implosion and depression. And yes, I'm getting to the extreme here, but this is how, when we veer so far off from our authentic essence and our connection with nature and its cycles, it causes, yes, the physical symptoms. And this imbalance is felt in your body, in your mind, in your emotions, and everywhere.
Mhm.
And what Helen's offering here is this holistic approach. Yes, of course, you can take the pill, you can take this
Mhm.
thing, this quick solution, but as you're mentioning, and I felt it too in the women in my community, there's definitely a, like, the reclamation of a woman right now is reclaiming her body and her
Yeah.
own energy, and that's part of it. Like, I'm going to take care of my diet, I'm going to take care of my energy, I'm going to set boundaries, I'm going to
Mhm.
start using my voice. Oh,
Yes, and a lot of, well, from a Chinese medicine perspective, a lot of the PMS symptoms are like a lack of energy flowing. The energy is stuck, the blood is stuck, so it's creating symptoms. So if your voice is stuck, right? If you're not expressing yourself, if you're not creative, if you're not living the life authentically because you're living over here and you feel stuck in other aspects of your life, definitely that can be represented physically. And then in Chinese medicine, it's all about, yeah, the flow of your chi. So where are you stuck? Where are there stuck emotions like frustration, anger, like irritability? All of those things may have been stuck the rest of the cycle, but now they're expressing themselves. Yes, because they haven't been expressed the rest of the cycle. So that might be why it's so intense in this phase.
yeah.
hmm
So
Yes.
it's, this really brings in the holistic lens, right? And your approach, it sounds as though your approach is very holistic, approaching the emotions, the physical body, the
Physical. Yeah.
energetic, and the mind.
hmm
And you see it in your website, like, you have everything. You have the more scientific lens of approaching health, and you have also the energetic lens, which I love. So could you share with the listeners, like, what that approach actually looks like? Like, if somebody
hmm
came to Bright Moon Wellness, like, how would they be?
Yeah, like what does that look like or their
Yeah.
experience? So yeah, definitely we always offer a free meet and greet appointment. So if you want to meet with me or other practitioners first to ask any questions, make sure we are the right fit, or I can refer you to someone who might be a better fit for your needs. But then for the first appointment, we do a big long one. It's 90 minutes. And so that's where we talk all about your health history, just like when you go to your family doctor. And the more you're observant and knowing like what you're experiencing, can articulate it, the more information, the better. We basically want to understand what is your experience of your symptoms, and how is it manifesting? How is it affecting your life? So that's the big long assessment. And then your treatment plan usually includes some sort of physical support. So whether it's okay, like extra testing for more information or a referral back to your family doctor, or maybe, a sleep hygiene, or let's do some more movement or nutrition changes. And then I like to prescribe like one or two nutritional supplements. Maybe, you're super lacking in vitamin D and it's the end of winter. So vitamin D might benefit you physically, or a herbal formula to help physically what's going on. But then I also always connect what they're experiencing to something deeper. So I try to help them identify, or I offer suggestions of, okay, do you think this emotional experience or this stressor that you're going through is contributing? Or from a homeopathic framework or a Chinese medicine framework or a chakra framework, like we have different views on your symptoms. So you might think, okay, I have 20 symptoms and they're all unrelated. But instead of doing a treatment for every single 20 symptom, they might all fall very nicely into a homeopathic picture. So you would just get one homeopathic remedy to stimulate your vital force to rebalance everything. Or maybe they all fall nicely into one Chinese medicine pattern of imbalance. So for, PMS, it's usually liver qi stagnation. Your liver qi is stuck. So we might do some interventions just to move your liver qi, and that would help all of your PMS symptoms rather than, okay, I'll take this for my headache and this for my period and this for this and that. So we always try to connect it there, and that's usually the first appointment. Then people kind of go for 6 to 8 weeks while you integrate things and look back and reflect and go, okay, am I actually noticing a change? Which factors are changing? Which are stuck? Which have or new things, other new layers can come on top of what you're experiencing. So we always check in and then try to like say, okay, what layers have we dealt with? What else is coming up? And then we're going one step deeper. And then I do a lot of like acupuncture with Reiki or guided meditation, or I offer the quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is where we go visit a past life or an alternate lifetime to see if there's some energy or experience or a theme from that lifetime that's expressing itself in the current lifetime. So if the client is ready to go deeper, those are offered to see if we can get information from a different way. Like, can we connect with your higher self or your energetic body, your spirit guides, crystals? I use all of those as tools or permission slips to help the person have a different perspective on what they're experiencing so they don't feel as stuck. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that progression. Beautiful. Like the
Mhm.
initial assessment, really understanding the root cause, and then offering that maybe more physical solution, whether it's through food, a supplement that's very targeted,
Mhm.
but also touches upon a lot of their symptoms. There's that
Yes.
nugget, right? And
Yeah.
then their own integration, right? Because they're the ones that are doing the work. And
Mhm.
then, should they want to deepen, perhaps maybe with a different modality, like you
Yes.
offer that, you offer the different, okay, so
Hmm.
this is powerful. This is,
Thanks. Yeah. And I just want to say, I feel like obviously we meet people where they're at,
mhm,
but more and more people are coming in being like, oh yeah, I know my hypothyroidism is related to my throat chakra imbalance. Or like, I know my period cramps are because I need to express myself creatively, or I'm having troubles in my relationship. So I feel like a lot of people are more aware of these connections, and then they're looking for a healthcare practitioner who can speak that language or within that framework so they feel understood. Hmm.
that's beautiful. And this is super key because it's also pointing towards people doing their own research and maybe
Yes.
not feeling as seen for a regular doctor, and
Hmm.
not wanting to be dismissed so easily, perhaps, especially for women, that we go through so many changes in a
Hmm.
day, in a week, in a month, in a lifetime, that to have
Yes.
that safe space and that person that understands us is huge. And then, of course, the tools.
Yeah, and like we always try to like empower our patients, right?
Mhm.
Like so basically we partner with you because you know your body best. Like I say this all the time, you're with your body 24/7. You know exactly what is right and not right, and your intuition is your guide. And I love Dr. Google. If you come in and you say, Dr. Google thinks I have this, or my chat GPT is telling me I have this, it's just an extension or a reflection of your consciousness. But if you read something and you really feel that is what's going on with you, often people come in and they're looking for the right practitioner to either connect them with the testing or the information to either validate that and confirm, yes, that is what's happening, or to give them a better framework or other ideas. Because, yes, Dr. Google can tell you you have cancer, but does that really mean you have cancer? But at the same time, it's getting the patient to advocate for their health care and be aware that something is not right or out of balance. So then if they're seeking the health care, I think that's beneficial. And then the is there to guide them and navigate through all the tests to confirm, do we believe Dr. Google or do we not? Like based on the information that we gather. Mhm.
Yeah.
So I always say, yeah, you know your body best, and you're the one that's observing and tracking its changes. I can't be there with you for 6 weeks while you make those changes,
Yeah.
but I can ask you the questions to help you reflect on it, and bring that to your awareness of what are you expecting in terms of changes. Hmm.
Yeah, and this, as you mentioned, it's empowering because it brings the power back to you.
To the
And
patient, yeah.
with that, though, comes the responsibility of tracking, of sitting with yourself when you feel icky and heavy or triggered. Instead of reacting, you're feeling actually what's going on, what's being triggered within me. Like, this is the work. And I tell that to my clients as well. It's, I can sure be that lighthouse and guide you to shift that perspective, to see that blind spot, to get to the root of your dis-ease. But ultimately, you're the one that is walking yourself through your own fire, through
Yes, you're
that.
in charge of your health
You're
and
in
your life
charge.
and what you do. Hmm.
And this is when you realize that some people have been resisting actually taking responsibility of their own health, because that means they have to face all the pain of, feeling
Yes.
not good enough for their dads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? This
Hmm.
is big, big stuff. But ultimately, I think this is where we're heading.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep, definitely.
yeah. And of course, having people like you and me as guides and as safe spaces, and people of that they can trust, that people can trust to come and speak about their experience to, and feel held, even
Mhm.
though they are going through their own transformation by themselves, basically internally. They're not alone, right?
Yes.
That I think really helps this whole process.
For sure. And then the other thing that comes to mind when you ask about like women's health is like the whole shift of perspective to being proactive about your health. So let's do like perimenopause, for example. There's lots of information out there now about the symptoms of perimenopause. And a lot of women are coming in earlier in their like early 40s, late 30s, saying, am I starting perimenopause? Is this hormonally related? Yes or no? And then if you go to the regular medical doctor, they might say, oh, we'll just give you the pill, we'll give you the IUD, or you're too young, oh, we don't do any testing for it. And then they go, okay, well, why am I having all these symptoms? Or they do testing and they go, oh, everything's normal. We just have to wait till your period stops. And, every woman goes through this. So just sort of deal with it. And so then women, I think, feel like, okay, well, but I don't feel great. I don't feel optimal. What else can I do? So more women are proactively seeking care and they're seeking to understand what is changing and what they can do to take their power back and sort of influence how are they feeling. And yes, it is a natural phase of transition that everybody goes through, but how you go through it and how you experience it, I believe, is within your control. So a lot of people are, yeah, sort of shifting that perspective rather than, waiting until the symptoms are so bad and then reacting to them and suppressing the symptoms. They do want to go a bit deeper. Hmm.
Yeah, and I want to extrapolate this and bring this deeper, because this is also a lot of the demographic, a lot of women coming to see me as well.
Hey, yeah.
And a lot of women that are in their midlife crisis kind of phase, are in this perimenopausal phase, where this is so key, because this is your body actually wanting to save you in a sense, to
Hmm.
offer you this creative energy, your chi, and channel it in a different way. Maybe you're not creating physical babies anymore, but that creative energy is actually giving you life and vitality to create something else, maybe.
Yeah, like, are you following your passion and your excitement, or are
Yeah.
you not? So, that
And
deeper. Yeah.
there's so much resistance. I hear it all the time, all around me. And these very, very limiting beliefs on a woman is, low libido now, gray hair, saggy tits,
Yeah.
everything's going downhill. Where I'm just like, holy shit, this is your prime. Sure,
Hmm.
it may not be your prime to actually make physical babies, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's how society sees and values a woman, only when she's young and beautiful and making babies. But let's
Hmm.
forget about when you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and you've built so much wisdom, and now you're in the I don't give a fuck anymore phase. That's not rewarded. So this is why it's so beautiful to work with women that are in this phase, because they're really in this reclamation phase,
Hmm.
only if they choose to work with their body, right?
Yes. For
right?
sure. I definitely like, I feel that, I guess, on a personal level too. Like, so the last 6 years, I've had a couple kids and, stepped into motherhood. And like, you feel that internal pull of like, I have these responsibilities. I have to be
Mhm.
in this role in this phase of my life. Yet I have all these internal yearnings to, grow my business and do this. And like, I went back to my figure skating team this year that I hadn't done for 6 years, just this creative movement flow, like something that I'm passionate about that I love. But it's this like push and pull or this balance between like where you're being called to go and your duties and your responsibilities. So I find that, really challenging for a lot of women. And then, on top of that, you have to work. And then there's your parental, maybe caregiving responsibilities for like parents and siblings and just, yeah, women have a lot to carry and a lot of roles and responsibilities for sure.
Yeah, and I'm all about, revealing truth, like shedding the shit, revealing truth. And when we go to the root, we start seeing
Hmm.
this ingrained conditioning in a lot of women to be the caregivers, to be the nurturers, to hold it
Hmm.
all together, because that's how we were brought up. And that's how we survived,
Hmm.
right? We don't realize that a lot of women walk around in like fucking survival mode.
Hmm. Yeah.
80% of the time. I don't even know the stats, but I'm going to put it out there. It may just be that number. And to realize that, to your point, to your example, it's not an either or.
Hmm.
It's about you honoring your energy, honoring your boundaries, honoring your innate worth, and actually opening up to receive support, love, and care that you deserve.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
so vital. Like, as you were saying, yes, you are a mother. Of course, there's responsibilities.
Hmm.
You chose to be a mother. What does that even mean to you? Okay, you
Hmm.
maybe are making food and hopefully you have a good partnership going on with your partner. But
Hmm.
it doesn't mean you can't be a businesswoman and have a business and pursue your passions. But everything, I like to use the word, is integrated. Your passion feeds into how you show up as a mother to your kids, how you show up with your partner, your spouse, how you show up in your business.
Hmm.
And you get to realign with each phase of the moon and each phase of your lifetime and each day, really, to what is
Hmm.
true, what is
I think,
authentic right
yeah,
now.
I think that word, that's a good word, like the realignment. Like there's like constant realignment or reevaluation of like your identity and your beliefs and your relationships, or what are you willing to tolerate, or what are you going to shed that like no longer serves you in terms of beliefs and like ways that you're functioning. So yeah, it's definitely a big transformative change. And that's sort of, going back to the whole bright moon wellness and the moon cycle. Life is all about transformations. There will always be changes that happen. It's sort of, but what you do with the change or how you respond to the change and what you believe about it is sort of what's going to determine how you feel. It's like the meaning that you're assigning to this shift. But it definitely, yeah, gets people to reflect on things or dig a bit deeper and face those internal conflicts.
Yeah, beautiful.
Hmm.
So I'd love to close. I know you have a client to go see right now,
Oh, yes.
but I'd love to close with an invitation for listeners. I think this was a beautiful segue into having them go home with something to contemplate about or feel into. If a listener right now is feeling like this maybe disconnection of or out of alignment,
Hmm.
where can they begin? And perhaps like what's one small shift that could support them right now? Or what's something that they need to know also?
Okay. I feel like I have so much information or so many things to help people. But I feel like I'll bring it back to just being mindful, or mindfulness and like being aware of how are you feeling as you go through an experience, because that will tell you, is this right for you? Or is there some sort of disconnect or like something not in alignment for you? So whether that's, a relationship or an interaction with somebody or a way that you're, a duty or a task you're doing, or maybe, oh, okay, I'm gonna go eat, like for me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna eat instant noodles at 11 p.m. Like I'm a real person too. I'm not a super naturopath that eats organic all the time, but I was just like honoring how you feel and what your needs are, but then recognizing, okay, this might not be the best thing for me to eat instant noodles at 11 p.m. But I need some nourishment. So, like, that's the deeper meaning. What's the deeper meaning, I would say? Can you recognize that behind your actions? So, it's 11 p.m., kids are asleep. I have quiet time. I am seeking nourishment and comfort for myself. So maybe the instant noodles are not the healthiest option, or the glass of wine or the chocolate bar or like the binge watching, whatever you are doing. But if you can recognize the need underneath the behavior, then we can address the need. So, like, for me, for example, how do I need to create more time and space for nourishment of myself? Because I'm constantly nourishing others, right? I have the children, the business, my clients, friendships, family. There's lots of nourishment going on. So, I hope that answers your question. I just kind of cycled it back to me, but I think, yeah, being aware of like what it is the first step. Then yeah, if you see a health practitioner or see Sophia or your Reiki Master, whoever your team of support is, that's a good starting place. And then they can help you dig deeper into it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I love it. And thanks for sharing your story because, again, this is what is perhaps resonating with people listening. Like, oh shit, like
Mhm.
that's how I feel. Like, I want to eat the pot of Nutella at 11 p.m. And
Yes.
I think every woman, I won't speak for everybody, but a lot of women have gone through, to a certain degree, an eating disorder or a body dysmorphia or something where food represented some need that they could not get.
Hmm.
And food is such a gateway in to much deeper things, like what is the need behind the instant noodles at 11?
I
Like
know.
I know for me the pot of Nutella back in the day
Yeah.
was this deep desire for a connection I was not getting from my mom, like this
Okay. Yeah.
loving nourishment and yeah, this warm fuzziness, so I was getting it from food.
Mhm.
But it was clearly detrimental.
Yes, but you were able to recognize that like there's a need beneath the
Yeah,
behavior, I would
yeah.
say. Yes.
So beautiful. Beautiful. Self-awareness is always number one, the doorway in.
Yeah, well, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, this conversation could go down many rabbit holes,
Oh,
and
yes,
I'm
yes.
sure we're going to have many more.
Well, if
But
any of your viewers have questions, yeah, I'm happy to answer questions or, if you want to compile a list of questions for me to come back, yeah, I'm happy to share more knowledge.
where could they find you?
Oh, yes. Well, so our website is brightmoonwellness.com. We're on the Instagram, so brightmoon.wellness. And then, yeah, so basically, those are probably the two main places. We do have a Facebook page too, so you're welcome to follow us there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.